Welcome to Just the Facts, episode number 15. That one was easier than 14. 15, episode number 15. Joining me, as always, is Mr. Bob Grill. Hi, Bob.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. We're here in our studio at Lightspeed.
Are we 6 feet apart?
Not almost.
Almost.
It's a little less than that, but our studio here in Henderson, Nevada. This is actually home of Dropping Bombs by Brad Leah, too.
It is.
So we're kind of privileged to be using the same studio. If you haven't watched that podcast, it's amazing. Yeah. So like celebrities have been right here. Yeah. So it's been great. So this is Just the Facts, though, which we also know you love because you're watching us or listening to us right now. So we've got some pretty exciting stuff to share today. We've been really talking about inventory, acquiring inventory, how to get inventory, quality inventory. What are some of the industry insights? We've had some amazing guests the last few times. So those guests, we had Dale Pollock. That was cool, right? David Kane came on, Automotive Mastermind on our last one.
Yeah.
So we're going to continue the theme. You know what? We're not going to continue the theme. We're going to change it up for you. We are going to talk about sales process because what we found in talking about inventory is that there's some things that are broken in the dealership. And not to call you out on this, but there are some processes that we've always done the same, that we continue to do the same.
No, wait, you can call them out, right?
We're supposed
to challenge them.
Okay, we are supposed to challenge, right? Yeah. So we're calling you out. There's some processes that's got to change within the dealership. And maybe you could just kick it off, Bob, and talk about some of the stuff we're starting to see as, because of this whole discussion about acquiring inventory and trading leads and all this stuff that's happening. All of a sudden, they're starting to get activity, but not really knowing what to do with that activity.
Yeah, 100%. And listen, at the end of the day, if we're not challenging our audience, we're not doing them any favors, right? They don't just want to listen to us jabber. They want to be challenged a little bit. So this one's a bit of a gut check. And just in generalization, if your store today is still doing that 10-step sales process, at the end of the day, I learned the 10-step sales process in 1986. And it was taught to me by a gentleman that learned it in 1966. And he probably learned it from someone from 56, right? But in the industry, we tend to just keep things going because it's what has always been the case. A lot has changed, right? A lot has changed, especially in the last, let's say, 5 years, because within the last 5 years, it started changing because the millennials became, upwards of 70% of our buying public, and they don't like doing things the old way. But then with COVID and so much of our business getting driven to online, it is critical today that your bricks and mortar showroom lines up with your online showroom, right? So that's the question today. That's the question we're asking you guys today. Does your bricks and mortar, your physical showroom, does it feel like your internet showroom? And if it doesn't, it's going to cost you some car deals.
So let's park right there for just a second. So internet online showroom, right? Yes. So I think there's some really amazing sites out there. There's some amazing partners that have created some awesome sites that are out there, right? And so that does have a really good look and feel to it. But tying it into what the consumer sees, right? Yeah. So you just mentioned it. Yeah. Is it the same? So let's start there online. So the consumer has this amazing experience. They see all this information. They're getting all of this information. Yep. There are studies out there that say the average consumer spends 13 to 15 hours. So let's go with 14 hours.
That's right.
Online. I would challenge that that's probably more in the last 18 months.
It may be. It may be,
just because of people that may not have had a laptop before now have a laptop. They didn't know what Zoom was, obviously, other than the old Mazda commercial, right? So they didn't know what Zoom, you remember the old Mazda. Zoom. So there's some changes that have been made and they're spending a lot of time getting all this information.
Yeah.
However, when they take that information and then go into a dealership, what are some of the things that really the dealership or the salesperson should do with that person with all that information? Because before it would scare a salesperson, right?
Yeah.
Like they come in with, and I know an old trainer of ours used the manila folder, right? They come in with all this stuff that's printed out.
Yeah.
Now they just have it in here or on their mobile device.
Yeah. Well, first of all, how do we know it's true? Well, we know it's true because if 9 out of 10 consumers are online, it's upwards of 96%, right? It's hard to believe, but 9 out of 10, let's say that's 90% of our customers, and they're spending 14 hours doing their research. What exactly are they researching, right? We already have an average of 27 photos per car listed, right? So they know all the standard options on the car. They know all the equipment on the car. They know the miles of the car, the color of the car. You showed them the spare tire, right? All that stuff. And you price it to market today. Rare is the dealer that doesn't price to market today, whether it's vAuto or whatever tools they're using, they are consciously pricing the market. So if you have a vehicle priced to market and consumers are past that, or you wouldn't get the lead to begin with, and they know everything about the car, why then do we still close at 25 to 30%? Why is that? If 90% of our customers are 90% ready to buy, there's literally nothing left. It's said that they only visit 1.3 dealers, right? That's because if you screwed up on the first one, they buy the second one because they're so ready to buy today. But at the end of the day, we know there's caveats. We know that there's 10% of customers are going to have bad credit, can't get them taken care of. There's 10% that are still upside down. Hard to believe in today's market, but there still is. So that's 20%, and 10% is a bad day. We have bad days in this business, right? So that takes it from 90 to 60. So the whole point is somewhere between 60 and 30%, there's some more car deals. Are we going to get them all? Never, but we can get more. And that's the part we're talking about. So I know I went on a tangent a little bit, but I want our listeners to understand that we're not talking about going to 90%. That's never going to happen. So throw out the excuses. Oh, they're upside down. Oh, they have bad credit. Oh, whatever. Throw out the excuses. It should still fall into that 55 to 60% range. And currently we're at 30, let's say. There's 30% opportunity. That's a lot. That's double. So how do we get more? That's what today's discussion is about, right? How do we get more?
Yeah, and I think so. And so if we talk about the process, so you just laid it out beautifully. And so you did a little bit of a tangent.
Well,
That's okay.
Yeah.
It's just normal. Our listening audience already knows that by now. He is. But I think that's a good way to go, because if I use a personal story, and I do this from time to time, right, where we're in the market for a vehicle, looking for a Jeep.
Yeah.
And I had a great online experience, and I didn't have a bad in-person experience, but it still took 5 hours.
Yeah.
I had everything lined up. I knew what car I wanted. I had the VIN. I had the Carfax report. I had everything there, and I knew this is the car that I wanted. Yet, are you sure you want this car? Almost like talking me out of like, no, this is the one that I chose. And I did all this research, and I just felt like all the research I had done was not a waste of my time, but it didn't do anything as far as the process goes. So it was not the same. What I was able to control on the other end, I lost all control. And I'm not saying all consumers should have control, but I felt like my research meant something to me.
It is a waste of your time. You spend 14 hours. You're in the business. You still took a long time, right? The average consumer spending 14 hours doing research. And that's the whole point. That's what we fail to recognize and give them merit for that. The number one thing a salesperson has to do first is gain rapport. Okay. You gain rapport. It's class 101 when it comes to sales. Well, it used to be gaining rapport was, hey, my name's Bob. Your name's Bob. I like football. You like football. I like dogs. All that stuff.
Yeah, right.
They don't care about that today. What they care about today is you acknowledging the fact that they're not uneducated. You acknowledging the fact that they took their time and did research. That's easy. That's easy to do. And you can gain rapport literally in 30 seconds. It used to take an hour sometimes before you got a customer to relax. You waited for that first smile or that first little laughter. Then you knew you had rapport. Sometimes that would be an hour into your sale. Today, you can gain rapport, not instantaneously, but within 30 seconds. It is amazing if you just let the system do what it can do and quit trying to control everybody.
So what are the reasons why? And this is a legitimate question. This isn't just a planted question. This is legitimate for me as a consumer. Why do they still bring out the Foursquare? Why do they still bring out these things about here's what we're going to give you for your trade, and then I have to negotiate and I have to do all this stuff? And then in that whole scenario, I thought they would just pick up where I left off, and just like the car would be ready for me. It'd be out front. It'd be clean. I'd just go test drive it. It's good to go. But I still had to go through that whole process. It's a little frustrating.
Here's why. Because as managers, as desk managers, as general managers, as sales managers, we built sales processes, 90% of which was to control our salespeople. So we knew what step the salesperson was in. So the salesperson didn't, quote unquote, skip steps.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So the challenge is, because that's how the managers were managed when they were coming through the business, That's how they know how to manage now. It was all about controlling your salesperson. It was all about making sure your salesperson did all the steps, right? That's why you did the manager intro, so that you knew what stage they were at with the customer. Today's world is different, right? The buyers are different. The way they buy cars are different. What people expect is different. The amount of information they have. Listen, in 86, the average customer visited 9 stores. 9. Now they visit 1.3.
I heard that. That's so crazy.
And the 0.3 still our fault. They didn't even want to do that. They just wanted to come pick up the car. You know what I mean? So you cannot manage by how you were managed. Those days are gone or rapidly changing. Now, listen, at the end of the day, there's lots of successful dealers that are still doing it that way, and they're very successful. We're not challenging you on your success. We are challenging you on the longevity of that success. It's going to be a diminishing return. So get ahead of the curve. Don't wait to the very end and then go, oops, we're at the end. Make us some adjustments along the way. Do you stop what you're doing based on what Bob and DJ said today? No, but you take steps along the way to slowly transition into the new way of doing business.
No, that's great. And it also brings up, one of the things that you and I have been talking about, and that is, the change in really the online marketing and, the Carvanas of the world, the Vrooms of the world, those like, is everything going to change? Is everything going to go that way? And not to name names out there,
no,
but to, I know that's part of what our dealer partners are asking.
Yeah, no.
And I know those companies are partners of ours too, but does everything change there? And then what I'm kind of setting up for you is, we just read an article by Cox Automotive that actually really started to open our eyes that the customer doesn't necessarily want to do everything online from beginning to end. So maybe talk to that just a little bit, because it was eye-opening for me.
Listen, at the end of the day, with everything on the table, with everything on the table, with all we went through in the last year and a half, at the risk of sounding morbid, the fear of death was put on the table, right, with COVID-19. Total online sales, the complete transaction online sales only went up 15%. With the fear of death, it went up 15%, right? So that tells us that, done right, there's absolutely plenty of market out there. There are always going to be customers, though, that choose to do it online. There always have been there. It was difficult for them to buy cars because they didn't like going to the dealership, but there was little niches that took care of them. Dealerships even had one person who only did things online back then. So there's still going to be that person. That part of the business has grown. But make no mistake about it, consumers still tell us that it's the thrill of a lifetime. Right now, take a minute. Everyone on this call can remember the first car they ever bought themselves. It's a moment in your lifetime. Everyone on this call can remember the very first car they bought for their child. It's a moment in a lifetime. Well, that moment in a lifetime involves going to the dealership. Even millennials who in the beginning said they don't want to go to a dealer, don't want to go, that all changed when they had money and could buy their own cars. All of a sudden, they like knowing what's going on. They don't like being felt like they're ignorant. They don't like feeling outmuscled or outmatched. So they do all the research. But at the end of the day, they still prefer to go to the dealership. They're the feel of the wheel. It's picking out the car. It's making sure it's the right car. It's being able to change between black or gray or dark blue, which one looks, you know what I mean? It's still a thrill. It's the second biggest purchase a customer makes besides a home, right? Unless you're a business owner, it's still the thrill. And that's why it's predicted. I am one who predicts that it's only going to grow so much. Is it going to grow? 100% it's going to grow more online sales. Absolutely. But the transition from online to showroom has to change. That's what has to change, because the customer coming in is prepared different. Right. And we haven't talked about it yet. Really, today's sales process has 3 steps, not 10. Right. Number 1, you give them merit for what they've done. That sounds easy. Hey, welcome to Bob Grill Ford. Every customer coming in today tells us they've done a lot of research. Do you mind telling me what you've done? Well, that's how hard that is. Right. I just did it. Step 2 is to start where the customer left off. Whatever they've done up to now, you don't have to repeat it. Whatever they did to now got them to the point of visiting you, which is your goal anyway. So step 3, which is actually tied to step 2, is ask them. Hey, DJ, I appreciate you doing all that research. Why wouldn't you? Because there's a lot out there. That makes a lot of sense. So I guess the only question I have, DJ, is what would you like me to do for you next? That's it.
Easy.
That's it. And here's the beauty of it. As a salesperson, that took a minute and a half. I've gained all the rapport I need. I know exactly what to do next. It's so much easier today if they'll just let the system take care of itself.
And that's all I wanted in my personal story. That was it.
Yeah.
Like, let's just pick up where I left off. It's not that hard, right? Or just ask me the question. And I think that would have been a much better experience. And I don't think we would have had to spend that much more time there going through all that stuff. So we hope this was helpful for you. I know we challenged. And so we did say that we were going to challenge from time to time. And so this is one of those in that sales process. And we know that you guys have those processes, you train. And I like what you said about trying to control that process, because you got some newbies that are coming in that have never been in the automotive industry. So where are they going to go? But maybe just a little trust with a 3-step process rather than a 10-step process might be the answer for you, is simplify some things, because out of everything that we've learned in this past 18 months, almost 2 years going on now, is simplify everything. Really go back to your roots, go back to the foundation of what made you successful in the first place. Yeah. And that's what we're talking about today.
100%.
All right. So thank you for joining us on Just the Facts, episode number 15. We'll see you next time.
Take care, everybody.